What do we mean when we talk about scope when rule modeling in Corticon? Every rule has scope. Scope determines which entity instances are evaluated and acted upon by a rule. Recall that when you create an association between two entities, a branch gets added under each entity. In this example, an association was created between aircraft and flight plan. As you can see, a branch for flight plan appears under aircraft and a branch for aircraft appears under flight plan. So both aircraft and flight plan appear in two places, at a top level and at a branch level. Notice that the attributes of each entity also appear in two places. When you drag and drop one of the attributes, such as max cargo weight, from the top-level aircraft onto a cell in the rulesheet, you form the term aircraft.maxcargoweight. If you use this term in a rule, it applies to all instances of the aircraft entity in the rule's input or output messages. This rule thus has global scope. If you drag and drop the max cargo weight attribute from the branch level aircraft, under flight plan, you form the term flightplan.aircraft.maxcargoweight. If you use this term in a rule, it applies only to those instances of aircraft that are associated with a flight plan in the rule's input or output messages. Aircraft that are not associated with a flight plan will not be evaluated or acted upon by the rule. This rule has narrow or limited scope. Whether you use a term from a top-level or a branch-level entity depends on the scope of the rule that you want to model. Let's look at a detailed example. Let's assume that the transportation company creates a flight plan. It assigns a cargo container and an aircraft to the flight plan and wants to model a rule that throws a violation message if the cargo weight exceeds the maximum cargo weight of the aircraft assigned to that flight plan. To achieve this, you define a rule that uses flight plan's associations with cargo and with aircraft. You define a condition that compares cargo.weight under flight plan in the rule vocabulary with aircraft.maxcargoweight, also under flight plan. To test this rule sheet, you must define input data in the ruletest in the same hierarchical structure. You must drag and drop flight plan from its top level first. Then, you drag and drop cargo and aircraft from their branch levels to flight plan in the input pane. When you run the ruletest, Corticon evaluates only those cargo aircraft pairings that match the same flight plan. This means that a cargo.weight will only be compared to an aircraft.maxcargoweight if both the cargo and the aircraft share the same flight plan. If you had used aircraft.maxcargoweight and cargo.weight from the top level in the vocabulary tree to define your rule, cargo.weight greater than aircraft.maxcargoweight, Corticon would have compared every cargo weight with every aircraft max cargo weight, which is not what you want. When you model rules, it is important to understand what you want your rules to do and define scope accordingly. Now that you have some understanding of scope in rules, let's look at how to choose the right scope in a rule statement. As you know, a rule statement describes the purpose of a rule and can also be posted as a rule message. When you configure it to be posted as a rule message, you choose an entity to post it to in the alias column. What this means is that when the rule message is sent or displayed, it is associated with an instance of that entity. For example, if you choose flight plan, the rule message contains the entity name, flight plan, along with the instance ID, flight plan 1, flight plan 2, etc. as shown in this example. This helps a client application that is invoking the rule, or a rule modeler who is testing the rule, know which entity instance is responsible for triggering which rule. In the flightplan.cargo.weight greater than flightplan.aircraft.maxcargoweight example, you would choose flight plan in the alias column, because you want to know which flight plan instance triggered the rule. However, in cases where you are comparing the attributes of two root level entities, for example if cargo.weight greater than aircraft.maxcargoweight, it may be unclear which entity to use in the alias column. In these cases, you should pick whichever entity you are more interested in from a business point of view.